So
Ham didn't want to divide the world. If Noach would have another kid, they'd have to divide it 4 ways. He wanted to stay 3, so he made sure he didn't have more kids.
no.
He castrated them. Well, maybe he'll get rid of them.
So Ham, that's okay. We can talk, but we're on tape. It's fine.
What?
So Ham gets his plan. His plan goes to the core of who he is. We said before when we named him that he was somebody who perhaps was hot-blooded and would follow his first inclination versus logically thinking a situation out. So he starts a plan from his own beginning, and then the plan narrows down into what actually happens. So that's why we have the Yatif, because it's starting from the beginning of who he is. The way that his character is formed is what's going to go into this plan. Avi, father of, with a munach, part of a zakef katon. So this is going to separate itself out from what we had before and move us forward into something else.
Well, why is it Avi Kanan instead of Av Kanan?
Because we're using a possessive, father of. Otherwise, we'd have to say so. Av Canaan also works, but it's not as proper grammatically. So right? You normally say Av Shel. Av Shel Canaan. He's the father of. So Avi is the same thing. Av Canaan is a way to say the same thing, but using different. Yes. So this is
like Av Beidin. You don't say Av Shel Beidin, or you wouldn't say Avi Beidin. Like right. In modern Hebrew, you don't say Avi like that. Avi doesn't mean my father.
Right. So we've got a comment after number 2. Sorry, we skipped that. We'll go back to it. NB. The acts of Ham were probably remnants from the time of the ark, where men and women were separated.
Where are you reading now?
NB, after number 2.
Oh yeah.
So, so he's saying where are we getting the fact that they are doing homosexual acts with Noach, and he is stating that is the type of thing that would have happened if men and women were separated, and hence men were only with men. And certainly, as we read through the story of the flood, we realized that the men and women were separated for the entire duration of the flood.
No relation. But wait a minute, it's. I thought you said just Ham, who was the father of Canaan.
So
according to Ham is also the president. I mean, Canaan's also there.
We haven't said that yet. He's mentioned that
he mentioned
it before, joined by his son.
Right.
But I think that's more because we're deriving it from the rest of the pasuk. I don't think he's possibly deriving that from just the note under Ham. I think he is putting that in context, despite the fact that that's normally not what this parish would do. Number 3.
Wait, what's pederasty? That's anal sex? What is pederasty?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Avi, so the father of, so we're separating out the concept of Ham and Avi. Don't forget, this is a letter this is a note that's going to tell us this is something that's separate from what was before. So when Ham, the father of Canaan, realized that his son excelled in sexual performance against Noach, he built up his own courage to perform as shown by the shape of the reading mark. So
So Canaan started it. He initiated it.
That's what he's trying to say here. That Ham did it separate after he had seen what Canaan had done, and we get that from this separation of the munach. Munach tells us that it's not the fact that he's his father. It's the fact that he did it because he saw Canaan do it.
So the child is the father to the man, sort of like
So that's a unique take and is only there because of the way that a munach acts, separating itself out from what's before. So we're not saying Ham the father of, as those two thoughts are connected. We're saying the father of Canaan is what's connected, and Ham is separate from that. Ham did it because Canaan had already done it, and he decided he was good at it, and I got to be the father, so I'm going to do that. Canaan,
and you're getting it from the
from the fact that it's a munach which separates itself out from what was before and then goes forward.
The munach and
so
the
Ham is way separated out from Avi.
That's the yativ part.
The yativ and from the part of Zakei Katon, from the munach. The munach has a wall, separates itself out from what was before. So it's not the concept that he's
stop, and then Avi Knan
is the phrase that goes together.
So there are two actors, separate actors here.
So Canaan has a katon, has a two-part note over it. Not only did Canaan approve of his father's activity, but during the performance, Ham noticed that his son was thorough and even superior to him, as stressed by the bipartite shape of the reading mark. So
wait, better at anal sex, they're saying? I didn't know the word grades there. Better in quotation marks. I mean, I don't know what better means.
So again, there's a comparative here. There's a comparative here, and hence we have a two-part note. Et, along with, this is a tipra, so this is going to tie us back into what's happened before, and only slightly connect to what's going to go afterwards. Along with number 5, along with the perverted sexual abuse, Canaan had also permanently damaged Noach's reproductive potency by castration, which the Gemara in Sanhedrin and the Midrash tell us, as referred backwards by the directional shape of the reading mark. So, et, which is normally untranslatable, he gives an interpretation to, along with, stating that not only do they do the sexual acts, but something else happened as well that is tied to what has already happened. So we've got something different happening, and hence we bring in the midrash and the concept of castration here.
Wait, Canaan wasn't in the ark, right? That came after. It was only Noah and his wife and his 3 sons and their wives, right? There were no kids. Canaan came after they came out of the ark, right? I think so. Because we always say there was only 6 people in the ark, or 7, 8. I mean.
Yes,
because he had kids much,
and children were born to them after the flood. So
I was going to say, because if we see what Canaan is like, why would Canaan would not have been saved? No word.
The question is what the timing was here. How long? When they had time to have children of this age.
Right. You think that he made the vineyard right after he got out?
But it would appear.
I mean, Canaan has to be at least to be evil. I mean, he has to at least be bar mitzvah or something. He's not a little kid.
I don't know an answer to that question. I will try to. Well, we might come across it later on when we go through the list of projects.
Chum doesn't sound like such a great. Why was Chum saved? I mean, obviously Hashem thinks there's a purpose for Chum in the world. I mean, there are good things that can come out of Chum, like if you do it in the right way, like.
So every aspect that a person has is a midah, is a characteristic, but midah also means measure, an amount of. So everything is good in the right amount.
Right.
There are times to be jealous. There are times to be angry. There are times to be violent.
Midah, the midah, right?
So it's just that some things have a very limited time in which they need to be they're allowed to be expressed, or they're properly expressed, and some things have a large portion of time where they're properly expressed. In any case, so we are at Ervat.
Or it could just be that I mean, in saving Noah, I mean, you have plenty not his kids. I think the Schut Avot there. Ham probably only got in because his father was Noah. I can't believe that he was any better than the rest of his generation.
By the sounds of it.
Because how can you tell Noah, I'd save you
So-
but not your kids? I mean, that's pretty nice.
So we'll remember before that we sandwich Shem, Ham, Yafet. We sandwich them like that in order to try to get the other two to moderate Ham. It's not necessarily birth order.
No,
It's,
usually birth order,
it's not birth order.
No,
it's
no.
it's the idea of trying to restrain this influence. That doesn't mean that that passion and being hot-blooded is not something that people should have.
No,
It's that it's something that needs to be
That's what I'm saying. That's why Shem did save that quality.
So the quality still has a time and a place. Ervat, number 6.
What is the marking under the ervat?
Is a munach.
Oh, that's a munach.
It looks just like a
So if it's not complete in your book, you can certainly correct it to turn it into munach. So again, this is going to separate ourselves out from what had happened before and move us forward into a new concept that goes afterwards. Ervat, normally translated as the nakedness of, but here he says the genitals of. Number 6, the genitals of Noach became the main objective and target for action, as denoted by the shape of the reading mark. So when we've got 8 to try to say that this is what they had damaged, it then becomes separated out from the fact that this is the only thing that they're focusing on from here on in. So that's why we get a munach. We say that before they were focusing on various sexual acts, and all of a sudden, ervat, the genitals, became the main focus, the only thing that they were interested in, and not in other parts of anatomy. We have a note here. The Zohar says that Ham and Canaan attacked the distinct place of the treaty of circumcision, so I guess the bris. Since Noach was born circumcised, like the angel who fought Jacob, they rebelled against God and against Brit
Noah was
Milah.
born circumcised? Is that what you
Again,
said?
he's quoting Zohar. So the question is, what naked area are they targeting? And the Zohar is trying to make the point that they're targeting an area of God-given perfection. That shows that the world does have some perfection built into it, and that's sort of the ultimate type of rebellion against heavenly dominion.
Wait, they castrate? There's two parts of the male genital.
So we have to again think of the concept of what these when we have NB and remark and so on,
right,
what these things are. So this is just, he's bringing in another source that has something interesting that he's seen or that he's learned, but isn't necessarily related to the way that we would normally deal with the translation.
So originally we got castration,
ervat,
it's the testicles, and now it's the penis part?
So again, ervat seems, according to the notes, to refer to the testicles. Why? Because it's separating itself from what 8 was talking about, which was the testicles as part of, or castration as part of the various sexual acts that they were performing, and then they become the only focus, and that's why it gets the munach. But that's separated. That is not necessarily related to what the Zohar says. So again, we have ayin panim l'tar. We have different concepts being related to us through the same words and through the same contexts, and this is just a separate thing that he felt was important to impart to us, but doesn't necessarily follow the flow of it having a significance according to the notes.
So
Numbers.
So the Parshat often uses 8 or translates 8 as with 8 Elohim halach Noach and so forth. So if we go along with 8 as with, then I think it explains that whole scene, because if we read it as Vayar Cham, and Cham saw or Cham watched, Avi Knan et Ervat Aviv. He was watching Knan with his father's genitals. But so that's the sexual act, but then the fact of the munach, the fact that it's severed from what comes after, that might give us the clue for the severing of the erva.
Agreed. Good insight. So number 7, his father, Aviv, with the stabilizing et nachta. The goal of Cham along with Knan was not only the homosexual thrill, but also castration, so that his father would be prevented from having more children who would eventually become beneficiaries of his wealth and claim title to his possessions, as suggested by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So the fact that Noach was the father here gave him the power to continue to procreate, and taking away his ability to father any more children, stabilize the inheritance at those who were already on the ground at this point.
That's what you're saying.
So again, that's yet another midrash, and he's brought it in here with the concept of his being a father. This is the end of his being the father.
This is the foreshadowing. Also, it has, doesn't it sound like Lot and his daughters later on?
Vayaged, and he told, with a mercha, so this is loosely tied to what's gone from before, but is mostly going to sweep us forward into what's going to come afterwards. Number 8, Cham had no regret regarding his act of violence against his father, and he told openly and with pride about his outstanding performance, in which his youngest, 4th son, Canaan, had participated in pederastic indulgence, Rivi'i and Riv'o. So when you have the statement of Vishalo Tamod B'fnei Abema L'Riv'a Tevelhu. So we have some of the improper sexual acts. One of them is called Riv'a, Riv'o. So this is a description of that, and he's saying because there is a Rivi'i, Vayar, at the beginning of the sentence, we're talking about Riv'a. So where did he get the concept of this being a description of anal intercourse? He got it from the Rivi'i, that note that is on the very first word, and the fact that Canaan is the 4th son, is the Rivi'i of Cham, and hence that is his focus, this word that has a similar Hebrew root. And again, we see that lightly tied to that, but mostly moving forward. By Yaged, he's taking what happened before and he's spreading it out without any shame, without any regret. Lishnei Echav, for both his brothers, without hesitation or any mitigating circumstance, he talks for both his brothers about his latest experience with his father, as specified by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So this is a tipcha. This is something that closes out the thought and is only loosely connected to what's going to go on after it. So again, we're seeing that this is something that is done without any shame and with maybe some pride even in what he's done. Bachutz, on the outside. So not outside, how we would normally treat bachutz, but on the outside. Number 10, so pasuk, with the stabilizing influence of that. Shamelessly, he also informed all those who were on the outside about his heroic exercise and conduct. So he not only told his brothers, so it's not to say that his brothers were outside the tent. It's he spoke of it outside. All of those people who are not his brothers, he told them as well.
Who are they?
So there are other children of all of the other sons and the wives and so on. So all of those people are there as well. So we're not saying that he told his brothers who happened to be outside the tent. We're told his brothers and all of those who happened to be outside. So he ran around and he told all the people in the world, which was possible at this time, because you could know all the people in the world.
No, not in that way. No, it sounds like you would know.
It wouldn't take that long to tell all the people in the world. And we have another note. Bachutz, on the outside, does not refer to the brothers, because if they had been inside, they would not have to be told. This expression would be obsolete. It must be understood the way that I have commented. So he's saying that on the outside doesn't mean that the brothers were outside the tent.
Well, they were,
because there would be no sense in telling them if they were inside the tent.
They would have seen for themselves.
They would have seen for themselves. So obviously the brothers had to be outside the tent. So saying that they were outside has to refer to somebody else, not to the brothers. Because logically we would have known that the brothers were outside, otherwise he wouldn't have had to tell them. Concept that he's trying to relay here is that there are no superfluous words in Torah. Anything that we would have known logically is not stated expressly without there being a reason for expressly stating it. So therefore, because we have to expressly state on the outside, logically we already knew the brothers were outside, so it must be saying that he was talking to other people who were outside.
I can understand the castration, but I don't. What's the whole homosexuality thing? Where and the incest and all?
So we're getting that both from the Rivi'i that the pasuk starts with, and the fact that Canaan is the Rivi'i, the fourth son. Why is that important? It's important. So when the Gemara talks about this type of sexual relationship, it normally says that men came to a woman lo kedarka, right. not according to her way, not according to her path, not in her way. So the act of sex here is not an act of gratification only. It's an act of saying we can forge our own path. We don't have to follow the path that God is laying out for us, or that Noach is trying to lay out for us. So this is an act of rebellion as well as an orgiastic type of act. So there's intention here. We're saying we're going to set up our own path, and our path is more important than Noach's path or the path that is being perhaps set for the world.
I think it's also important that this is expressed sexually, because the tevel that led to the destruction of the world altogether was primarily a sexual mingling, an inappropriate sexual mingling.
Again, so they're saying we can go back to the old way without consequence and without punishment. So that's why Vayaged Lishnecha Bachutz, he goes and he tells everybody that, see, we can still be like the world was before. We can still follow that path and do just fine. They're saying, there isn't necessarily a God who saved us. We can keep on doing what we did before, and there won't have any consequence.
Well, they weren't even around before, but they...
Well, Shem, Cham, and Yafet were. So Cham was there. So we'll read the sentence. And again, we're going to notice the separating out of Cham from Avi Kanan Et, and then Ervat Aviv, which is going to stand by itself. So we'll see how those words sort of move away from each other. So a yativ is pronounced like or read like a pashta, with maybe a little bit of a pause after it. Vayahar Ham Avi Kenan ate Ervat Aviv Vayaged Lishnei Achav Bachutz. So I don't know if you got the timing and the separation of the phrases there. And again, we saw the significance in them. Are we going to do one more sentence, or are we going to stop here for the evening? So, was you expecting a call?
Oh.
Yeah, I'll call him back after.
Okay. So we'll.
I'd love to go on.
Wait in for one more.
Yay.
You debauched character.
Vayikach. This is a tlisha ktana. So remember that there are two notes that look like this. One that comes at the beginning of a word, with the main circle at the beginning and the line facing forwards, a tlisha gdola. And that is a note that ties ourselves to what comes before and focuses us forward from that point on, and is a note that pauses afterwards. It sits by itself and it stands, and then you wait. The second one is the one that we have here, which is a tlisha ktana. Tlisha ktana
is visually it's the opposite of the classic male symbol, and the pasuk before was a reversal of the normal male thing also. See what I'm saying?
Okay, I'm not.
It's an upside down.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
The question is he going to take?
No, I'm just saying, in light of what we just read, it's interesting that the next note is a reversal of the male symbol, because homosexuality is also a reversal of the. You know what I mean?
I think it's a great concept, but I think they're mixed
So
up alphabets, though, like the mixed up symbol scales.
Meaning what? That it can't. What?
Because that male symbol is not a Jewish symbol.
Whatever, but it's a universal because it's the shape like the general. I mean, it's like one tentacle with the arrow, is the peanut, whatever.
So tlisha ktana comes at the end of a word and is a joining note, is a note without a pause after it, and allows you to move forward into what comes after with a sense of connection.
Wait, talush, when you say something is separate, like talush, like from in the schach in a mechubar talush, is that with a tav or a tet? Because I'm trying to get the word talush. Tlisha is definitely with a tav, right?
Yes.
But when something is talush, is it with a tav also?
Yes.
So then that name, because we never really did the name. Remember, I'm always stressing that we'll eventually get to the name. So you did once, you know what I mean?
We did once. We'll do again. I think after we finish Parshat Noach, we'll go back to the introduction.
If it's
and go through the introduction again with perhaps a little more depth.
But in your remarks, did you say that?
So tlisha gdola,
or
the opposite of this one, stands by itself.
So talush, like it's separated from
tlisha ktana is not at all talush. It's actually a connecting note.
Connecting to what? Like,
connect to the next word. It's like, mercha and tipcha connect together. One leads into the other. This is a leads into the next one.
Which one leads in? The
tlisha ktana, the one that we see here.
It leads in?
Leads in. Goes at the end and connects us to what's going to come after it. So if the accent is on a syllable that's earlier on, then you will in fact have two of these, one always at the end of the word, and a second one on whichever syllable gets the accent. It happens here that the last syllable is getting the accent, so there's only one of them. Vayikach, and he took, number one.
The Karnei Parah, which is that Tlisha Ktana and Tlisha Gdola, the same. Is it sung like? Do you know how to sing it? Is it sung like the Tlisha Ktana and Tlisha Gdola?
No, it's sung like a.
Is that Karnei Parah? I'm getting mixed up.
Karnei Parah is the two of them together.
That
and
looks
it's
like
sung like a pazer with a tlisha after it. In Ashkenaz, there's a different combination of notes in Sephardi, and I would have to look it up.
How many words have Karnei Parah? Like Shalshot has 4.
When you don't include Mishle and so on.
Yeah, just in the Torah. Like, it's not famous like the other one. What word has a Karnei Parah on it? Do you know?
In Torah, I don't think there are any in Torah.
Oh, there's no Karnei Parah in Torah?
I mean,
What has to be?
the one that we normally come across is in Megillah Esther.
No, but in the notes in the Tikkun, it's just the Chamisha Chumsha Torah there, no?
No, it's for Haftorahs as well. Haftorahs and Megillah, it's the same. As far as I recall, you don't get.
There's no Karnei Parah in you think it would be something?
I'm trying to think when it's talking about the land apportion to the Leviim. It says at Piat Keba Alpine Be'ama, and I think it